Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Microsoft Minute with EchoStor. We're back for another episode about some of the Copilot Wave 2 announcements that were put out, including some things like Prompt Buddy and Copilot Pages and Microsoft apps. Hot off the presses, probably just a couple weeks ago now, I think, Chuck.
So week, this is super hot off the press.
Week 2, I think there's some exciting announcements in here. The initial iteration of the way that Copilot was rolled out, as effective as it was, there were some things that we were open for, and I think this update definitely addresses some of them. I think, Chuck, I'll let you give us an intro to what you heard from the announcement, and we'll talk about what we think is exciting and maybe get some feedback from the viewers about what they think as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Bunch of big announcements. The first one probably being that we're switching from ChatGPT 4 to ChatGPT 4.0, which is going to give us better performance, better logic, better reasoning. It's just the latest and greatest LLM from ChatGPT, OpenAI. We're looking at exciting results, better results, less hallucinations. Also on the horizon, 4.0i, which was mentioned in Wave 2. I would say that's probably 3 to 6 months out, but 4.0i is an even bigger game changer. Recently, they did an IQ test and it came back at a 120 IQ, which puts you at smarter than 9 out of 10 humans. So some big improvements on the AI front coming up. And with that, one of the big ones too is this thing called Pages, which is really bringing in loop components to create a collaborative space for multiple users to leverage AI and the content inside your M365 tenant and really work together to create an even better solution. You can think about it as like Word on steroids. For those of you that have been using the loop components, outstanding set of collaboration pieces right there. And now AI is going to be all over that.
As someone who was an early adopter of the loop stuff, this one's exciting for me. Those loop components were helpful for managing projects, engagements with customers, or longer term things that I wanted to do from a collaboration standpoint. So I think the fact that they're integrating the Copilot feature set along with those capabilities, allowing us to work together with AI in a document all at once, rather than artifact by artifact that each user is bringing, is exciting development here.
And I think that's another thing too, is that you're going to see the ability to bring in more types of artifacts, right? So bring in chats from meetings, other documents, messages, recaps, things like that. That's another piece you're seeing in Wave 2 right now to help, again, leverage more of those assets and put them ideally into a Pages where you can work on that presentation, those ideas, those thoughts. Another big one is Copilot is going to have Python and Excel. So for those of you that are familiar with Python, this is a huge announcement. You can be able to leverage Python right inside of Excel to create visualization, to do what you need with Python script. So to me, that's a big one. That is a real big one. If you're in finance and you haven't touched Python, totally recommend learning Python. Best part about Copilot is you could ask it to write Python for you. To me, Python is relatively new. I've always been a .NET guy, VB.NET, C#, ASP. Now I sit there and I'm like, all right, I'm going to learn a little bit about Python, but I'm going to have Copilot write my Python code. It's faster, It's easier. And when it breaks, I just tell Copilot, doesn't work, please fix it. So
I think the idea that Copilot's doing everything for you is a misnomer. It's a coach along the way, and you're going to have to understand what it's doing. Most of the Copilots do a great job of explaining why it took that approach and what it did. It's just a net benefit, like you said, for finance professionals or really anybody else out there who hasn't taken a look at Python and what it can do for you inside of an application like Excel. It's a great resource, and it's not going to leave you in the dark, like saying, I don't know what this thing's doing to all my data. I think you'll have a really good understanding of that.
So a couple other things. Copilot agents. This is the new branding. So we had custom Copilot, but now we're going to call them Copilot agents. And the reason why is they're really harping on this notion of being able to create chatbots with your content sources. In fact, Wave 2 is going to incorporate one-click Copilot agents from SharePoint. So you're going to be able to go to a SharePoint site and say, create a Copilot agent. You're also going to be able to create these agents just by writing a prompt into Copilot Studio and create the Copilot bot for you automatically. More features, more functionality, and more Copilot stuff. There's also some stuff for Outlook as far as prioritizing your inbox, creating priorities for contacts, more integration. A lot of that has to do with the fact that the 4.0 version of ChatGPT is giving you a bigger context window, so you can ingest more data.
I think one last thing to touch on too before we wrap for today is Copilot and Outlook. I think there was a great initial rollout of kind of Copilot summarizing your inbox on the last iteration through. The new and exciting one is prioritizing my inbox, which is a nice new feature for people who kind of live in and out of their email inbox. It's hard to keep track of the things that are most important in there. It seems like the first and next thing that comes in is probably the most important. You're probably trying to track down 10 emails ago. I think prioritize my inbox uses some of that capability of the large language model to understand the cues that make something important to you. I think that one's another one to be excited and on the lookout for. Sounds like that's not going to be previewing until late 2024. So you got a little bit longer to wait, but at least it was announced last week.
A lot of good stuff.
Yeah. We want to wrap here. We thank you guys for joining us again. We're actually going to attach a form to this post and ask you for some feedback. We'd like to understand in this Copilot Wave 2 announcement, what interests you the most. And as always, you can hit us at MicrosoftMinute at EchoStor.com to recommend any other sessions or other things that you want us to take a deep dive into. We'll be excited to see you the next time, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks everyone for joining us today. Please keep an eye out for our next EchoStor Microsoft Minute. If you'd like more information about what we've discussed today or more about EchoStor, visit us at EchoStor.com. Thanks everybody.